People keep asking what's the next book they need to read, and the answer is very simple. It's Storm of Secrets and Sorrow by Melissa K. Rorick.
In a world created for the descendants of gods, where the Fae are born to serve, a woman bound to the air of death fights fate and desire. Storm of Secrets and Sorrow is book 2 of the best-selling BookTok sensation, a contemporary dark romantasy legacy series for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Kaylee Smith, and Rebecca Yarros.
The second I knew that this book had me was when I realized it had gods, dragons, shifters, vampires, and witches. It has it all for you.
It even has my favorite tropes like morally gray characters, meddling gods, forced proximity, touch her or him and die, one bed, one horse, he falls first, enemies with benefits, like you can't go wrong.
And everyone knows that it is fantastic because the first book was independently published back in 2023, and the series was a #1 Amazon bestseller with nearly 40,000 Goodread reviews and 16,000 Amazon reviews as of 2025. So you know it's grown even more.
And when it was published traditionally, it was an instant New York Times bestseller.
Make sure you get your copy today of Storms of Secrets and Sorrow. It has an incredible deluxe special edition with stenciled edges, a beautiful foil-stamped hardcover, exclusive design with illustrated end papers, and full-color character art.
You can find Storm of Secrets and Sorrow by Melissa K. Rorick wherever books are sold in print and in ebook.
If your favorite romances are dark, addictive, and just a little bit dangerous, let me recommend The Dare by New York Times bestselling author Harley LaRue.
This viral novella serves as the perfect introduction to Harley's bestselling Losers universe. Jessica was the untouchable prom queen. Manson was the outcast she made sure everyone feared. Years later, one Halloween party, one game of Drink or Dare, and one impossible challenge forced them into a night that changes everything they thought they knew about each other.
If you love bully romances, enemies to lover tension, morally complicated characters, queer representation, and stories that aren't afraid to explore the darker side of desire and devotion, this one's for you.
This gorgeous new edition also includes a full gold foil cover and an exclusive bonus novella, Ghosted, available in print for the very first time. Fun fact, The Dare became infamous after Amazon temporarily banned it for being too sexy, helping cement Harley LaRue as one of dark romance's most talked about voices.
The Dare by Harley LaRue, available now wherever books are sold.
At the Home Depot, get up to 15% off all installed carpet projects for a limited time. Featuring brands like LifeProof with pet-proof technology, Home Decorators Collection, and Traffic Master. Take your pick of carpet built for real life and designed for real comfort. Plus, with installation starting as low as 49 cents per square foot and a free measure to get you started, we'll handle the hard parts for you. Offer valid July 16th, 2026 through August 2nd, 2026. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Welcome to Academia Unlocked, a special series from BookTok for BookTok where we take one classic work and explore it through 3 episodes, moving from understanding the text to deep analysis and finally to cultural interpretation. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy. And between us, we have over 13 years of academic literary training, including bachelor's degrees in creative writing, as well as master's degrees. We built this series to bring the depth we learned in our training into a space that feels like a conversation anyone can participate in.
Each book, if it applies, gets 3 episodes and they build on each other. We start with literary literacy, reading the work the way you would in a high school AP class, Close and Careful. Episode 2 is our advanced analysis where we shift into a college-level seminar lens. Finally, in episode 3, we look at the book in media, adaptations, cultural legacy, and how it translates beyond the page.
So we have done the Literary Literacy Pass and the Advanced Seminar Deep Dive discussing Amy Tan's The Joy Luck Club. Today we're doing our look at the adaptation, putting the 1989 novel side by side with Wayne Wong's 1993 film adaptation. We're going to talk about what got cut, what got added, and what only a camera can do that prose can't. Finally, we'll also discuss why this film mattered so much more than a single adaptation usually does.
This episode also opens up the bigger conversation, legacy, representation, and the 25 years between this film and the next major studio movie with an all East Asian cast. So let's dive into this. All right. I watched this movie for the first time, split between yesterday and today. It was the first time watching this movie, and it was amazing watching this movie having just finished reading the book, and it was incredible.
So like Jack, this is the first time I've read the book and watched the movie-ish. I did watch the movie when I was younger because my mom watched it a lot, but I have little to no memory of it. Except for like the most harrowing scenes, like the mom abandoning her 2 babies on the side of the road. That's the one scene I remember. But what was surprising to me was I always expected this movie to be a faithful literary adaptation because of how well it did. But it's more faithful in spirit than it is in structure. And we're going to get into that because the structure of the book is so important to the book, but there are reasons why it would never work in the movie. And so that's going to be part of our conversation today.
Yeah, I think they captured the spirit of it because the novel has 16 interlocking narrators, 8 women, each telling 2 stories arranged like a game of mahjong. The film has one afternoon, June's farewell party, the night that she leaves for China. Everything else is a flashback triggered from that room. I feel like they handled it well doing that.
Now, the change in and of itself is not small. It is, in a way, although it honors this idea of a mahjong game, in my personal opinion, it also does a completely different theoretical approach. The screenplay was not adapted by the author, Amy Tan. It was actually adapted by Ronald Bass. And as the screenwriter, he's talked about why he made that call. He believed that he needed a single through line for this story because the 16 fragmented stories with no through line, while it works for the novel, doesn't work when you've only got 2 hours on the screen. I was honestly surprised this movie was 2 hours and 19 minutes.
Yeah.
It went by faster than I expected, but it's a long movie for 1993.
Yeah, they definitely cut to what is important. And the fact that there needs to be, like in film, some kind of grounding force, and the party was it. They didn't make it all about the party. You know, I feel like if you have to have that grounding force, which I think you totally do for a movie, it can't be the most important thing of it. And it wasn't. And today we're going to talk about what got compressed, what got dramatized that the book only implies, and what the film meant historically, and the fun part, or the depressing part, I don't know, however you want to take it, what the movie meant to us.
One of the questions we'll maybe attempt to discuss in our conversation, and Jack and I have kind of slightly discussed it offhand, is this concept between the book and the movie, which one actually gets to the heart of what the story's about. And I think you could argue either way. So we'll see where we end up by the end of this episode.
I think it really speaks on who's a pessimist and who's an optimist.
That's what I said yesterday, right? I was like, oh, it really brings out the inner optimist in Jack and inner pessimist in Amy. Nice.
Book, at least. Yeah.
The book did, yeah.
The book. So themes that we're going to see in this episode include translation and untranslatability between mothers and daughters and between mediums, structure as meaning, what happens when you remove a novel's architecture, and representation and the double bind of the, quote, landmark work, which is going to call back to our last episode's discussion.
Now, before we dive into discussing the movie in depth, I want to take some time to set the scene about how this movie was made. Because remember, in 1989, The Joylet Club as a novel was originally published, and it spent 40 weeks on the bestseller list, as well as becoming a finalist for the National Book Award. What I think is fascinating to me, if you think back to that time, is how quickly this movie was then developed and came out, because it was out in theaters 4 years later, maybe less. What I like about the movie is it seems to really capture Chinese culture, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to speak a little bit to Amy Tan's experience with the adaptation. So Tan has said in interviews that she was really afraid of adapting the book. I don't blame her. I don't know how you would adapt it if you were starting from a blank slate. She especially was afraid of flattening or misrepresenting Chinese and Asian cultures. She has gone on to say that multiple people had approached her about film rights and she kept saying no. What changed her mind was specifically the director who reached out, Wayne Wong. He had already told a couple of Chinese American stories in film without exoticizing the Chinese culture. And so when he approached Amy Tan, she's like, oh, this guy gets it. I don't have to explain the nuance to this guy.
Yeah, which is also risky because this is such an important book about women and their experience. And bringing in Wayne and then Ronald Bass to come in and work on this movie was, you just don't know how men are going to do it. But Wang eventually brings in Ronald Bass, an Oscar-winning screenwriter, in January 1990. And he brought Ronald in to solve a very specific structural problem. And we've talked about it already of like, how do you take a fragmented 16-story novel and give it shape of a movie that an audience can follow? So you have two things here. One, June's mother, Suyun, she's died. And the film opens with her farewell mahjong party, which becomes the framework for every flashback. Two, the first-person voiceover narrator used to compress the backstory the novel spends the whole chapters on. So you have the first narrator of the movie who's giving you the beginning of the first story that we kind of hear in the book. And in many ways, June, just like in the book, I feel like is the main character narrator without being the main character narrator.
Ultimately, although development kind of dragged because the director and the screenwriter didn't feel like they got the creative control they wanted, they eventually were able to land with a Disney label and shot the movie both in San Francisco and mainland China, which I could tell immediately. And they used largely Mandarin-speaking actresses for authenticity, which I could also tell. And I could also tell who wasn't Mandarin, because there were roughly 50 female-speaking parts, which is a lot. And I'm glad that they went to China for authenticity rather than relying on trying to find 50 women in San Francisco to make this happen.
And casting mostly Mandarin-speaking actresses, that's a level of authenticity that even nowadays would be very hard to find a modern director doing that. So, the fact that it's happening in the 90s, shout out.
Yep. I completely agree.
And here is just something that you would really want to sit with before we compare any of the frames to the book. And that is the time. Like I was just saying, you wouldn't expect that in 1993. And so there really is no precedent at this point of a major Hollywood film starring an exclusively East Asian cast. And no major Hollywood studio film set in present day had ever done that. And it would be another 25 years, another 25 fucking years until we get Crazy Rich Asians who does that. And getting this movie made at all with this cast at a Disney-owned studio in 1993, like that within itself is a huge win. And that's completely separate from how faithful it ends up being or not being. I think it's pretty faithful, but it's that alone win.
Yep, I agree.
We interrupt our own genius for a quick message.
I don't think people understand just how much makeup we use when recording for the podcast, and switching over to Jones Road Beauty, especially their Miracle Balm, has been a lifesaver for my skin.
Instead of wearing tons of foundation, I feel like I can enhance the natural look of my skin with the Jones Road Beauty Miracle Balm.
Amy, you might relate to this. I used to do my makeup for the podcast and feel too embarrassed to leave after recording because of the amount of makeup I had on. But after I switched over to the Miracle Balm by Jones Road Beauty, I am happy to go outside.
The best part of Jones Road Beauty is that all their products are actually good for your skin. Every formula has skin-loving ingredients, and it nourishes your skin instead of clogging your pores or caking on that makeup.
And Jones Roads actually just launched their foundation stick, which I am so excited to try because the Skincare Forward Foundation delivers buildable, real coverage while feeling completely weightless on your skin.
Modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our listeners are getting a free full-sized mascara on their first purchase when they use the code BookTok at checkout.
Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code BookTalk, BookTalk, at checkout.
After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. So let's get into actually analyzing the text versus the film. We've already alluded to the fact that the structure had to change. And what we get is instead of 16 stories, we get 8 stories. We get 1 story per person instead of 2 stories per person because there's 4 mothers and 4 daughters. Essentially, what we see, instead of this kind of randomized plopping of stories, I have no eloquent structural way to say this, what the movie does differently is it starts with a daughter's story oftentimes, and then that is pulled into the mother's story so that you see the connection between the daughter and her struggles, her life in America versus the struggles of the mother in China as a child. We also get things kind of trimmed down to the bare necessities or voiceover being used heavily to help get concepts, thoughts, history told in rapid succession.
It's also filmed in such a 90s way where one actress looks to the corner and doesn't say anything.
And then the voiceover.
And then it kind of fades in. Meanwhile, their daughter or someone's next to them going, Mama?
Yeah.
Mama? And then they're both quiet. And that's nothing to do with this film. That is entirely the style of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and watch Silence of the Lambs. I think that's a hilarious film with how it's styled. Anyway, we also have the fact that the stories and everything are paired up. You have Suyin and June. The film keeps the twins in China reveal and expands it into the emotional climax, but it also compresses Suyin's mahjong club origin story, which the book spends a lot more time on. And you also have earlier flashbacks in the development of that. So you do miss a little bit there.
The one thing it does keep, though, at least I feel like, is that Suyan and June, like you said earlier, they kind of bookend the story. Mm-hmm. So they create the framework within which everybody else's story kind of oscillates.
Yeah. I mean, so long as they got the ICU at the end with the daughter with Suyin and June. Was that when you started losing it? When did you start to lose it?
Let's not answer that question yet. We're not
I
there
can
yet.
answer mine 4 minutes in. I texted Amy. Then you have Lindo and Wavery, the arranged marriage as a child's story. And then you also have the chess prodigy story. Both survived largely intact and they really played off of each other nicely. And this one is a bit more of a faithful mother-daughter adaptation. Then you have Ying Ying and Lena, which you have one of the biggest cuts. The book's extended material on Ying Ying's first marriage and the drowning of her infant son is preserved. It is abbreviated. They do a great condensing of this is a shit situation. We're going to get straight to the point with that.
Yep.
And Lena's marriage to Harold in the present day is trimmed to a single dinner table confrontation scene. Frankly, I don't know if I could have withstood any more than a single.
I agree. I was like, I didn't need any more of that story.
No. Leave him, burn him, get him out. They added a hot boyfriend for her, right?
Yes, they
that
did.
wasn't. I was like, sir, damn.
Yeah, they made some significant changes, but it's small from a movie point of view, but I think we'll talk about this more a little bit later, but they add enough little details that it makes significant, meaningful changes to me.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
but we'll get there in a moment.
Thank God we had less of Harold. You also have Anne-May and Rose. The story of Anne-May's mother degeneration and eventual suicide is, if anything, expanded really in the movie, and it's given more screen time, more weight there than some of the other threads. And several reviewers single this sequence out as one of the film's most devastating storylines.
I agree. I do like the choices they made. I think that they did a good job choosing that to be highlighted over the drowning of the infant son.
I feel like, and I'm probably jumping way too early, but I'm going to say this in case I forget. I feel like what they did was they chose what's the issue that threads the daughter's issues with the mother's issues. What is the main connector where you can see the daughter's like this because the mother went through this, or, you know, I wish they could connect more because of that. And that was like, it felt like that was their grounding force for the storyline and structure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another thing that is removed and does matter are the 4-part mahjong themed sections that you find in the novel. So in the novel, it's broken up into 4 sections, each named after a mahjong move. Those are removed. Most of the prologues or epigraphs, those are removed. The kind of folk legend myth that is interweaved, except for one. Now, why are these things removed? This is a great example of the structure here is a literary device that does not translate to cinema. And that's just some literary devices don't work on the screen. They don't have the same language when it comes to that kind of storytelling, unless you're literally going to have, they call them cards, as, you know, a title for a segment, right? Which I think would have ruined the flow of the story.
The real tension in the adaptation is the fact that the book refuses a single protagonist on purpose. It's an argument about the collective, right? It's not just about June. It's about everyone's experience and the cross-generational experience. And the film needs someone, though, for the audience to walk with, to, again, have that grounding force. And June becomes a bit of a closer to a lead than she is in the novel. Although I felt like she was still close to a lead in the novel, just like a thread, I'd say. I'd say like in the book, she's a thread, and in the movie, she's a tether.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to describe it.
I'm really proud of myself. And here, she's more than just 1/8 of a narrator. She's got more, again, she's a tether, not a thread.
One thing that the movie does really well that is harder to capture in the book, and I don't think is captured in this book, is that we get more visual clues about the lies. And by lies, I mean the fact that Soo-Yun's friends have sent a letter to the daughters pretending to be Soo-Yun in China and never telling them that Soo-Yun is dead. And one of the tensions is all the moms know, like, oh shit, June doesn't know this, and she's going to China tonight, and we haven't told her the truth. And so it does build a little tension that goes throughout the whole story. I do think it does it well. I like watching the mothers' reactions and how each of them handles the situation or doesn't handle the situation, because I think it's very on point with certain stereotypes I've seen in my own life. So that's something that the movie was able to do that the book did not necessarily do.
We also have the visual doubling. There are several flashback sequences that uses the same actress or a visual match cut to link a mother's past trauma to her daughter's present day scene in the same short. For instance, there's matching an image from Soo-Yun's flight to Guilin to a shot of June in the present.
And some other small notes about what the film is able to accomplish that, because of the medium, the book cannot. I really liked the score of this movie. I think the composer, Rachel Portman, does a really good job because the score helps build upon the emotions and delivers something that normally a book could only deliver through exposition, through metaphor, through imagery. Instead, we have it through music, and that touches a different type of person. People feel emotion in different ways. Music is one of those for me, and I think she did a really good job. And finally, landscape and setting. Everything is so authentic visually when it's set in China. Not only because it was filmed in China, but obviously they're going to get the time period clothing correct, the architecture. I want to gush about it because I'm like, that's my home. That's my country. Like, that's where I grew up. So it was really cool to see that accurately represented that you don't get when you film in America.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. God, the music and just even the land, like, I don't know, just the way that it was shot as well. Like, there's a moment with Ying Ying and Lena's downstairs fighting with Harold, and then Ying Ying, like, breaks the vase, and Lena comes up, and the way that her face is shadowed, and she was like, and like a tiger, I'm going to be watching and prowling, and just, like, the music build up in that moment. Yeah, it was really good.
It was very good. Insert sponsored subplot here. I always forget how long summer is in California, and all of my work clothes are geared towards fall/winter. I need more summer-appropriate staples.
I'm going to be going to Portugal at the end of this summer, and I need Quince to help me with summer vacation clothes because they have literally everything.
They make elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, which is my personal favorite, without the traditional retail markup.
They also have amazing shoes. I got their ballerina Mary Jane flats in brown, and I will be walking Portugal in that the entire time. They are so comfortable.
I also recently discovered that they have really fabulous 14-karat gold jewelry. Everything is subtle, delicate, and just classy. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup.
Quince has everything you need, from apparel to home to bedding to bath and all of the kitchen essentials and furniture. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier.
Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk.
Hey friends, Olivia from Ollie. Between new routines and the ultimate group project known as parenting, you need science-backed solutions that work with your life. That's where Ollie comes in. Start your mornings off right with multis made to support nutrition and immune health. Choose from our lineup of gut-supporting probiotics, and we've got occasional sleep support to help the whole fam chase their big dreams. Head back to class with the #1 gummy supplement brand. Stock up on ollie.com today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
There's a genuinely interesting inversion that's happening here as well. The book's whole thesis is about the failure of translation between mothers and daughters, language that doesn't cross a gap, but the film is a visual medium, so a lot of that untranslatability gets converted into something the camera can show without dialogue. A look, a gesture, held silence at a dinner table, and it's either a beautiful cross-medium translation of a book central theme, or it's the film's accidentally solving the problem that the book insists can't be solved. Again, I had a more optimistic view of the book. I felt like, for me, the book left it off in a there's hope kind of a way, like, you know, they are grasping the language to speak. Like, I think the mothers had said enough things to the daughters that I felt like there's the beginning of a conversation. And for me, the movie actually crosses that line that I was imagining.
Yeah, so this is where I was joking that, like, oh, this brings out the, pessimist in me, because I didn't see the book that way. To me, the book left a lot unresolved, and it left the mothers trying to communicate and the daughters never fully understanding. Mm-hmm. And from my perspective and where I was sitting, the daughters never get it. And to me, there's like this kind of hopelessness that both sides have of like, we've just come to accept we're never going to get it, where I feel like in each story, both visually and dialogue-wise, there was a deliberate and maybe accidental choice for resolution. And so there is one moment of connection at the end of each story. And I think that's best articulated with Anmei and Rose, because Rose after Anmei tells her mother's story, Rose is like, but what does it mean, Mom? And that's essentially, and then the mother sums it up for her. Like, my mother died so I could have a voice, and I'm not going to let you not have a voice too, basically.
And it's up to you whether it's too late or not.
Right.
Like, it was too late for her mom. Is it going to be too late for you? And then they suddenly add that she's the reincarnation. And I'm like, I don't remember that in the book.
It wasn't in the book. It wasn't in the book. Yeah. And they choose because Rose chooses to speak up, she ends up saving her marriage to Tim, which is not in the book.
That was, yeah.
And so it's those deliberate choices to provide the translation, to provide, like, Lena has a new boyfriend who appreciates her mom, unlike Harold. Rose gets to stay with her husband, Tim. Those points of resolution paint optimism and hope for connection that I don't feel like the book ever did.
Yeah, they added more layer of hope where they're having conversations. But I mean, I would have to go line by line in the book where I'm like there's using that same example. The mom said to her, I am not criticizing you. I never said fix your marriage with him. I said speak up. And so that one line for me did it, where I was like, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope to be had. And rather than just that one line, the movie takes it like 30 more steps and then even more.
And in that way, it speaks to the medium, right? I think audiences have a specific expectation of movies that they don't always have for books, depending on the genre. And so the movie has to provide kind of that resolution or closure for its audience that, again, I don't think the book ever really did.
Yeah, agreed. So let's go into the way that this movie was received and this whole 25-year gap in between the next all-Asian cast and, especially considering how the book was received. So how was the movie received? And the film premiered in September 1993, and it made about $33 million, which is pretty good considering they had like a fairly modest budget, and it received some very strong reviews. Critics generally praised the performance and everything and, the just sheer emotional weight of this entire movie. And some raised the same concerns critics had raised about the book, that it's compressing 8 women's traumas into 2 hours and that it risks turning suffering into a spectacle. And, it's turning a trauma into a melodrama.
I understand that. So I was texting with my mom about this because I was like, I finally understand why you like this movie. Mind you, she's never read the book. And she's like, I felt like it got some of the stereotypes spot on. I was like, yeah, but I do think I loved this movie. I think it did a really good job capturing China. I do think it flattens it. We talked last week or the week before about how critics were like, you're giving people a cheap imitation of China. You're making it very 2-dimensional rather 3-dimensional. I didn't feel that way about the book because there was so much nuance in the narrative and the broken Chinese and the food. And there was time spent on those things that are just visually there, but glossed over in the movie. And so while there is a richness to the movie, I felt like it was, and it's better than most movies that try to depict China. I still don't think it did China justice.
I would need to see a movie that does it justice and not just like China. Like, give me an example of a movie. No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying this to the collective you of like, give me something where it depicts something well and then something where it gives it a flattened version. And I say that because I don't do movies. Like, I don't know what is a good version of it and what's a bad version, right? Like, so when I think about a movie that's set in England or like British history or French history, like very Western, is that a fuller view or is it fuller because I'm more familiar with it? I mean, China, so therefore fuller what's, whether it's flattened or not.
Right.
I don't know enough about film or good movies to know like what is a full experience versus a flat experience. I just have to go to you of being like, China, what's going on there. So if you're telling me that it's missing some of that flavor, then I'm on board with you.
Yeah, I don't know that any movie can do it. I think the movie is more hindered than the book on certain fronts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Something to know about this movie and what it speaks to America in the 90s is the fact that the marketing, at least during the development process, the people working on the marketing basically avoided putting any faces of the actors or actresses on the art. That's not true now or what the final product was, but they tried like abstract woodcutting art or the photos of the actresses from behind, because basically an Asian face was not trusted to sell a movie, even though the movie's about the story of Asian women for Asian American people.
It's bad. It's bad, guys. Racism sucks. Solved that. Just figured this out. Amy Tan has reflected that despite the film's success, it didn't open the doors everyone thought or hoped it would. Several cast members went on to have some pretty good TV careers, but as Tan put it, and decades later, quote, nobody got the lead role in anything. And again, bummer. That's a bummer. That's not great because it's important context for anyone watching the movie now and assuming that its success was like a huge turning point for these actors and actresses. Like, I would think that. And it was a landmark. Like, it's a huge win. It was made and these fantastic actresses got to have a major movie role, but the industry, unfortunately, doesn't work that way, which, again, is quite bullshit.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be for another 25 years until Crazy Rich Asians in 2018 comes out before any major Hollywood studio film decides to have an all East Asian cast set in present day. And which is like, okay, it was a success the first time and it was a success the second time. Why are we doing this? Why are we waiting?
Exactly. It is a real shame. People are hungry for representation. They're hungry for their own stories to be told. And unfortunately, Hollywood has not listened to, the stories of other people who are not white. I will say, yes, none of the actors or actresses went on to be major celebrities. The actress who plays June is the voice of Mulan, just FYI.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
She can hear it now.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
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 So at least she got something.
Yeah. So the main actress from Crazy Rich Asians, she was also on a TV show called Fresh Off the Boat, which is a funny and amazing TV show, but it's the same way that June, the actress, was like, okay, you get another thing, but it has to only be Chinese specific.
We're going to put you in your bubble. And that's the thing, like, some of these actresses were very good. I really enjoyed a lot of the performances. I think some of the older moms did a great job too. It was a real shame.
Hold your hot takes. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Welch's Fruit Snacks. Back to school season can be tough on parents, but choosing a snack you and your kids can both get behind doesn't have to be. Stock up on Welch's Fruit Snacks, made with whole fruit and now made with no artificial dyes. It's a snack kids already love and one you can feel good about giving them. Go back to school with Welch's Fruit Snacks, now made with no artificial dyes.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
And I do want to emphasize, the cast is East Asian. Even though this is Mandarin speaking and they all speak Mandarin at one point or another, not all of them were Chinese. Some were Vietnamese, some were Filipina. I'm sure there's someone from Singapore in there, but...
And that's another part of the discussion right now that's evolved where, there's a lot more conversation saying, hey, like not just with East Asian, but you also have Pacific Islander and a lot more cultures where it's like, you can't just put someone and say, there you go, you're Asian.
Right.
That does it.
Right. One of the daughters is the actress herself is Japanese. And I could tell just by her nose. Like I can tell just by visually seeing her.
Same.
And like you can tell Ying Ying's husband in her backstory is only half Chinese. He did a great job with his Chinese, but he was only half Chinese.
Yeah.
There's nuance as well because, it was all East Asian and all these people deserved an opportunity, but it did feel to me like, okay, so any Asian is now Chinese right now.
Yeah.
Just like
you
if,
can fill the role. Like,
right.
Here you go. You're Asian now.
You visually look like it. None of the white audience is going to know.
And I want to jump into this because I can hear someone else saying it in my head of like someone being like, well, if you cast a German movie and you have someone that's French, why can't you? It's not the same, guys. It's not the same. I don't know if I have time to explain inherent biases right now. That's in judgment and the way people like dismiss cultures and everything. There's a lot of research that I highly encourage everyone to do. If what I'm saying right now is not sticking and you truly don't understand why it matters that Asian country representation matters from a Western audience who groups people into one category and diminishes their entire culture and history, I highly recommend you do some research on your own.
Can I tell a quick funny story? I had a Filipino friend in high school, and we were talking about like how you can tell the differences in Asian ethnicities just by looking at people. And he's like, yeah, but you white people, y'all look the same. I'm like, but that person has blonde hair and that person has red hair. He's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Y'all look the same. I was like, you know what? Touche.
Shay, one of my other best friends, she is Black, and that woman has known me for over a decade.
It's so funny.
And if you were to ask her what hair color I have, she will always just say blonde. I was a brunette for years.
Yeah.
And she would walk into the room and be like, I couldn't find you. I went over to that other blonde woman. And I'm like, you see me with red hair currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brunette, how are you not? And she was like, how long have you been this way? 3 years, Shay.
Yeah.
3 years.
During the pandemic was particularly funny.
It was fucking hilarious. But she'll be like, all you white people look the same. I'm like, I'm Latina.
I'm different.
Yeah. It's kind of like the way that the World Cup is currently playing out. And yes, I am Latina. Yes, my family is from Latin America, South America, and I will claim that. But don't you fucking call me Argentinian. I do not claim anything with Messi right now. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All Hispanic people are Vikings currently as Norway fights for
dominance.
Okay. So I think we got a question that we wanted to revisit, let's say. Let's close a loop.
Sure. So book or the movie, which one gets closer to what you think the story is actually about, Jack?
I am going to not answer it, and I'm going to ask you more questions.
Okay. Okay.
To know that was an option. What do you think the book was about? We've talked about the book being about not more than just miscommunication. The fact that things get lost in literal translation, emotionally, language-wise, everything, right? And that is one of the big founding pieces of this book. And I feel like you mentioned earlier that for you, it was left unresolved. It was left everything. Would you say that that was what you feel like the book was about? And if so, then do you think that you saw that in the movie? Or the movie is just truly about something different?
So I feel like the book is about an acknowledgement that you as my mother, whether it's the characters or Amy Tan speaking, you have stories I can listen to and I can acknowledge, but I will never fully grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it has an impact on my story, but I don't know that you will ever fully grasp my story. And so it's almost agreeing to disagree that, like, I love you. I hear what you're saying, but there's always going to be this divide that we can't cross because of this. We're both in the in-between, but you're on one side of the in-between and I'm on the other side of the in-between. And it's not necessarily cohesive. And I think it's almost resigned to that fact that it will always be this way. What I think the book does differently is best exemplified in June and Su Yuan's experience. Towards the very end of the movie, when Su Yuan and June are having, the crab dinner before Su Yuan dies, there's an exchange where Su Yuan clarifies what she was saying, that her daughter misinterpreted. And she says explicitly, I see you. That's not a level of understanding the mother's in my opinion, fully have in the book that in the movie the mothers have. And it shows the love of the mothers for the daughters that the book rightfully is like, it exists, but we're never going to make that final connection to truly understand it. And I also think it's best exemplified, and we didn't really talk about this, in the fact that the parable of the swan feather, how June is telling that story from the beginning and middle of the movie, and at the end she receives the feather. And her father's like, your mom kept this for you, but she didn't know how to give it to you. Like, June really gets to experience her mother's love in that moment and truly understand her mom's intentions. The book does not provide that.
I believe the book does say, like, she does say, I see you. And I do know in the book, she does tell her daughter, you have the best character because you have the best heart. And there is...
I just read it as a pessimist.
Yeah, you did. I'm like, the things that you're saying was said in the book. I think that it highlights those words that they say in the movie. Like, you're kind of like forced to sit in it versus you can't drive past it and be like, this is a spiral and horrible, you know? But like, what I actually feel like it was missing out on was the trauma that the mothers carried on to the daughters. It was very forgiving of the mothers. Now, you can kind of see it in Waverly. I mean, Waverly's the only one that does the like crying, you don't know what a single look from you does to me. And that's the only time we get that. And we also have June who, you know, it shows her frustration of, I just disappoint you. That's all it is, right?
Right.
It's very forgiving of the mothers.
It is.
Of they have this really hard life and they're just trying to do the best for their daughters. All that is true. They had a really hard life and they're just trying to do the best for their daughters. That's not without its consequences and the harm that it did to them. Right. And I think that that's kind of like where the pessimism or people who read the book can see. And that is somewhere where I go back and forth on when I was like, you know, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. The mothers were so far from perfect. Like they screwed up their daughters, and whether that's what they intended to do or not, it doesn't matter. Like it's still like screwed up. The movie, I don't know, probably didn't have time, and it would have been also maybe too complicated for a casual viewing audience, but it wasn't able to capture that aspect.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that front. I think that in some ways it painted the daughters as just naive and a little out of touch, or not out of touch, but like just not respectful enough of their mother's histories. And we should empathize with them. But yeah, they had a role in fucking up their daughters. All parents do. I think for me, the reason why I view it so pessimistically is because the delivery of the lines that are in the book, they were delivered with so much love in the movie that I know how my dad or grandparent would have said those lines, and it would not have been delivered the same way. Yeah. And so for me...
with tears in their eyes and emotions holding back. And
no, absolutely not. So my own heritage and upbringing and my understanding of the culture kept me from seeing what might be viewed as hope from someone else. And that's not something I can get rid of because
fair.
Like, I know who my grandmother was, and she was not a nice person.
Yeah.
And I know how she would have said some of those things. It's the kind of thing that you say that is meant to sound loving and hopeful, but is really a backwards cutting, like, put down.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of that stuff came across to me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's going to be hard, where I think it would have to be like truly an interview with Amy to be like, hey,
what did you mean?
Am I reading it this way? You know, because like, you know, what if the way that you're reading it is the way that it was delivered? However, the character has a lot more emotion and feeling than what maybe your grandma would have done, but would have delivered the line the same way, but has different motivations.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those, like, I think we get a book, we highlight it, we send it to Amy, we have her
Amy Tan.
Amy Tan, yes, not you, Amy, but we send it to Amy Tan and be like, hey, here are the parts I'm going to need you to clarify for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Who was your grandmother? What was she like? How about your mom? Tell me more.
Yep. I thought you were asking me. I'm like, you knew my grandma.
Yeah, I did.
All right. Shall we?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Academia Unlocked with Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our forum at BookTokForBookTok.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to BookTokForBookTok.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Bye.
Bye.
I always forget how long summer is in California, and all of my work clothes are geared towards fall, winter. I need more summer appropriate staples.
I'm going to be going to Portugal at the end of this summer, and I need Quince to help me with summer vacation clothes because they have literally everything.
They make elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, which is my personal favorite, without the traditional retail markup.
They also have amazing shoes. I got their ballerina Mary Jane flats in brown, and I will be walking Portugal in that the entire time. They are so comfortable.
I also recently discovered that they have really fabulous 14 karat gold jewelry. Everything is subtle, delicate, and just classy. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup.
Quince has everything you need, from apparel to home to bedding to bath and all of the kitchen essentials and furniture. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier.
Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365 days returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk.
Class is now in session, and the UPS Store is here to help you ace arriving on campus. Our certified packing experts can pack everything you need, from desktops to decor. Plus, when you pack and ship with us, you get our exclusive pack and ship guarantee. Your items arrive safe or your money back. Restrictions and limitations apply. To get a 20% off packing coupon and for full details, visit the upsstore.com/packing.